Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. We are streaming live on Vision TV 247 and other social media platforms displayed on your screen. I am Olajide Bello. First, the headlines. President Bola Tinubu calls for equitable access to capital for developing countries as non-aligned movement conference opens in Uganda. Nigeria 6 United Nations democratized process target Security Council slot. Plus, ECOWAS expresses gratitude to authorities in Syria alone as former President Ernest Koroma arrives Nigeria for medical care. The 19th Summit of Heads of State and Government of Non-Aligned Movements opened in Kampala, Uganda, with a call by leaders to member states to focus on unity as the world grapples with push for unilateralism. Khalil Mohammed tells us more.
Azerbaijan's Minister of Foreign Affairs, who opened the summit on behalf of his president and the outgoing chair of the non-aligned movement, said the meeting is coming at a time when the international system is facing many challenges. He called for continued unity among member countries to address these challenges. Azerbaijan assumed chairmanship of the movement in 2019 and is set to hand over to Uganda later. Yoweri Museveni, Ugandan president and incoming chair of the non-aligned movement, said the movement will not accept continued push for unilateralism and dictating by the developed north on what independent states must do. He said nations should not be manipulated or threatened. President Museveni says the stand of the movement is that the world should concentrate on common human problems. He noted that prosperity through trade, advancement in science and technology will help address human problems, the environment, crime, and terrorism. He added that the future is bright if the world acts right. President Museveni said the strength of the movement should be used to exercise considerable influence, particularly at the United Nations, for the effective transformative process for a better common future. Cuban Vice President Salvador Valdez said the movement should continue to remain united despite increased external pressure to weaken the movement. He said the world system is deeply unjust, exclusive, discriminatory toward people of the global south. The distinctive diversity, he says, is the strength of the movement and allows for consensus amid different loopholes based on principles and shared values. Khalil Mohammed, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has called for an equitable access to capital for developing countries, saying such will provide the much-needed resources for development, thus solving some of the most pressing challenges in the world today. Represented by the Budget and Economic Planning Minister Atiku Bagudu at the 19th Summit of the Heads of State and Government of the Non-Aligned Movement in Kampala, Uganda, the Nigerian leader pointed out that the developing world is not looking for sympathy or begging, but fair and equal opportunity. In a statement by the Director of Information Ministry of Budgets and Economic Planning, Folasade Buriwo, President Tinubu noted that the combined population of the 120 countries that make up the non-aligned movement is about 55% of the world's population. Yet the total financial resources available to all these countries are much less than that of some countries.
International efforts in the maintenance of global peace and security must be inclusive. The process of bringing about peace must entail the provision of humanitarian and emergency assistance. Nigeria wishes to lend its voice to the non-aligned movement member states' common position in condemning the present wanton destruction of lives and properties in the state of Palestine. which has assumed a very critical dimension.
Tinubu listed the challenges facing the world currently to include climate change, conflict and wars, terrorism and widening inequality. The president pointed out that the theme of the summit, which is deepening cooperation for shared global affluence, bears relevance with the respect to the current trend of wars, proliferation of small arms and light weapons, threats of use of nuclear weapons, and the dangerous polarization between developed countries, similar to the era of Cold War. On climate change, the Nigerian president, who acknowledged that the developing countries were moving forward on the issue with courage and ambition, added that to move forward decisively, access to affordable climate finance and technologies is critical.
The non-aligned movement shall unite must be put pressure that sessions of the United Nations General Assembly be devoted to issues of justice and prosperity, emphasizing that our world is blessed enough to provide equitable shared prosperity for all.
The non-aligned movement is the largest gathering of countries, second only to the United Nations General Assembly. Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Toga says that there is need to democratize the United Nations Security Council and Nigeria, with its population, economic size and strategic role in Africa, has earned the right to be part of the UN Security Council. Yusuf Toga made the assertion while speaking on the panel on the sidelines of the just concluded World Economic Forum meeting in Davos, Switzerland, with the theme Securing an Insecure World. The discussions dwelled on persistent conflict, intensifying climate crisis setbacks in global economies, and the potential risk of new technologies creating a complex global security environment. The meeting provided the opportunity to highlight major concerns for the United Nations to live up to its purpose in making the rightful decision for a sustainable future. Former President of Sierra Leone, Ernest Koroma, has arrived safely in Abuja for exile in a deal brokered by ECOWAS. The former leader left Sierra Leone this afternoon aboard Nigerian Air Force flights from Freetown International Airport, Lungi. Koroma's arrival came after he was charged for treason, his alleged involvement in the failed attempted coup on November 26th. However, Sierra Leone's president Bill granted him permission to travel out of the country on humanitarian grounds, citing specialized medical reasons. He was received by a high-level delegation led by the president of ECOWAS Commission, Aliu Toure. The government of Nigeria extended a generous offer to host the former president in Abuja as part of bilateral agreement for his temporary relocation. Economic Community of West African State ECOWAS has expressed its gratitude to the authorities of Sierra Leone for granting permission to the former president of Sierra Leone, Ernest Koroma, to travel out of Sierra Leone on medical and health grounds. A statement by the Economic Community commends the humanitarian gesture that stands in serving the greater interest of Sierra Leone and its people. ECOWAS also reaffirmed its renewed commitment to support the government and people of Sierra Leone in their efforts to foster peace and security, as well as deepen democracy and good governance in the country. A dangerous route traveled by migrants from Agadez in Niger through the desert to the Libyan border has been opened again since the military authorities came to power last year. The formerly criminalized migration business thrives is now striving. Kalo Mohammed tells us more.
This is an aerial view of the city of Agadez, nicknamed the gateway to the desert. The migration business has been revived since military authorities took over last year. Before the takeover, a 2015 law criminalized migrant smuggling in that country. Housing units used by migration rings to warehouse migrants before driving them in pickup trucks through the desert and route the Libyan border has come back alive. A ring posing as a non-governmental organization helped prepare the minds of will-be migrants at meetings before heading towards the Libyan border in hopes of reaching Europe. The crossing here at Agadez in Niger was inactive until recently, when a law that criminalized smuggling migrants through the desert towards the Libyan border was revoked. At the Libyan border, the European Union has provided logistics to border guards to fiercely turn back irregular migrants. Consequently, migration through the Libyan border is no longer only difficult but impossible, as border guards sponsored by the European Union work twice as hard to impress their paymasters. Currently, the number of migrants arriving at Tunisia overwhelmed Coast Guard as Agadez, the desert gateway, was shut down until late December 2023, and in 2nd January 2024, it recorded large numbers of arrivals and departures. Reports say this is expected to reduce the pressure mounted on the Tunisian Coast Guards. Kolo Mohammed, NTA News.
As cholera cases continue to rise, ravaging the southern part of the African continent, UNICEF calls for increased focus on children. Kolo Mohammed tells us more.
Cholera epidemic that affected multiple countries in Eastern and Southern Africa in 2023 still persists and continues to have adverse impact on the region. This is placing additional strain on communities and healthcare facilities. Since last year, 12 countries in the region have battled one of the worst cholera outbreaks to hit the region in years. And as at 15 January 2024, more than 200,000 cases, including 3,000 deaths, have been reported. The cholera outbreak in the region is a significant concern to the health and well-being of children. Therefore, UNICEF is calling for more investments in strengthening systems to address the root causes of cholera and other public health emergencies, particularly on enhancing access to clean water, improved sanitation and hygiene, social behavior change, and quality of case management.
We have to support case management as well, making sure that the people who unfortunately get infected by cholera have access to the treatment centers. And in the treatment centers, we have to provide supplies, which basically are infection prevention and control supplies and treatment supplies to be able to take care of these patients and ensure that you have human resources that are not only competent, trained, but they are also motivated to be able to take care of this.
The outbreak has rapidly gained momentum in the region, not only placing immense strain on the healthcare systems, but also exposing vulnerabilities in sanitation and hygiene infrastructure. Inadequate access to clean water and sanitation, poor infrastructure, and ensuring that families have access to the information and resources they need to protect their children. Kolo Mohammed, NTA News.
The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, Saturday morning in Istanbul, Turkey, delivered a set of reports assessing the latest climate change science during the 7th assessment cycle. More than 300 delegates from 120 governments decided on its scientific structure of work for the new cycle. Charles Alpha reports.
The fourth-day meeting at the panel's 60th plenary session, which concluded in Istanbul, had the government's agreement to produce the 3 working group contributions to the 7th assessment report, namely the Working Group 1 report on the physical science basis, the Working Group 2 report on impacts, adaptation and vulnerability, and the Working Group 3 report on mitigation of climate change.
I am confident that all IPCC member governments will recognise the collective benefit from supporting the declared priority for this assessment cycle to strengthen further IPCC's relevance for all policymakers and our engagement with other UN assessment processes.
The synthesis report of the 7th assessment report will be produced after the completion of the working group reports and released by late 2029. The panel decided already during the previous cycle to produce a special report on climate change and cities, as well as methodology reports on short-lived climate forces.
The IPCC can play a crucial role in making the robust scientific case for investments across the full value cycle.
The 6th cycle was perhaps the IPCC's most impactful, making crystal clear the imperative of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius.
Scientists have also been asked to deliver methodology reports on carbon dioxide removal technologies, carbon capture utilization and storage. In addition, a revision of the 1994 IPCC technical guidelines on impacts and adaptation, as well as adaptation indicators, metrics and guidelines will be developed in conjunction with the working group to report and publish as a separate product. Delegates also decided on a range of budgetary and other matters related to the delivery of reports, as well as on the admission of new observer organizations and the IPCC scholarship program. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. More reports when we return. Welcome back. Nigeria will soon have an International Students' Day to be celebrated annually. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Students' Engagement, Comrade Sunday Dio, disclosed this at the formal unveiling of the Nigerian Students' Flag and the Renewed Hope Students' Agenda in Abuja. The initiative is aimed at promoting students' engagement, empowering them in leadership so they can contribute meaningfully to nation building. And joining us now in the studio to shed more light on this is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Students' Engagement, Comrade Sunday Dio. You're welcome to NTA International News. Okay, can you take us through what the significance of the Nigerian Students' Flag is all about?
Thank you so much. I believe that we all know the importance of flag in our country, in a nation as a whole. We all know what flag stands for. And as such, flag is a means of communication, is a symbol of a unity, a symbol of solidarity. And as such, flag, it evokes emotion and it also passes message. And I think this flag is a visual representation of Nigerian students, an identity in every way. I think it is important for Nigerian students to have a flag which will also symbolize peace, unity among Nigerian students, both home and at diaspora.
All right, Comrade Sunday, now your office is working to establish the place of Nigerian students in the Renewed Hope Agenda. What roles can the students play in it?
Thank you so much. Let me say this quickly, that the Renewed Hope government and agenda is for entire students of this country. And as such, it is important for every Nigerian student to play a vital role in seeing how this Renewed Hope agenda will be sustained and be realistic among others. Like I have said, during the unveiling of the 15-point agenda to complement the efforts of Mr. President on the education sector, Mr. President has been doing everything possible to make sure that it revive and resuscitate the education sectors in Nigeria. And as such, Nigerian students is expected at all levels for us to come together and form a bloc to make sure that we support this, Mr. President, so that this agenda, this vision to revive our country can come true. Nigerian students, we have to come together, like I have said, to form a bloc. Yes, we have some bad eggs. We have some people that their interests, probably the policy and the programs of Mr. President is affecting them. We Nigerian students, we should not allow ourselves to be used by this element of destruction. Rather, we have to come together, like I have said, we have to propagate and we have to see in every level to support the administration of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Like I have said, within short period of time, for us to know which Nigerian student has seen it, there is a difference between when this thing is for you or you are being invited. When you look at this government, when you look at the way the Mr. President is taking the matter of Nigerian students at an high peak of his administration. Within just 1 month, he came on board, he signed student law. Within 6 months, the 40% deduction from tertiary institution has been, placed a ban on it. Within 6 months, the issue of UTAS and IPPS, which has been a very block for all these ASU strikes all these days, has also been removed. Automatically, the Mr. President mean well for entire Nigerian students, mean well for Nigerians, and as such, as Nigerian student, when you look at the demographic of youth percentage in this country, you see that the students take nothing less than 75% of it. And as such, we have to come together to form a bloc and support the Mr. President, that this vision of Mr. President come to stay in this country.
Okay, Comrade Sunday, very quickly now. The proposed National Students Leadership Summits coming up this year, what are the objectives?
Thank you so much. Like I have said, most importantly that the Nigerian students have a very vital role, a significant role to play in this government. We have to bring every Nigerian student, particularly the student leaders, the SUG president, we have to bring them together, are you getting me, to reorientate, and for them to also be an agent, the ambassador of renewed hope at various levels, at the local level, at the state level, and at everywhere they see themselves. They have to come, we have to come together. That is the issue of the summit, is to discuss what is really happening on our campuses, the uninterrupted academic calendar. How can we see that? If Mr. President is putting everything in place for us to have a smooth education sector, then the Nigerian student leaders, we have to come and see how we can make that, because Mr. President is committed about the statement saying your 4 years course is going to be a 4 years course. The 5 years course is going to be a 5 years course. So how can we come together and discuss and harness all these issues on our campuses? Yes, we have to also move from the protest with participation. How can we move from protest? It's not every issue that happens on campus that we can say we want to move by saying we want to protest. We have to come together. We need to dialogue with the management of our school. We also need to dialogue with the government and see how we can make sure that the policy and programs of the government, how we can also inform our parents that this is what the government is doing.
Sunday Dayo, many thanks for your input. And he is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Student Engagement. Many thanks for coming. Moving on, the 34th President of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, NSE, Margaret Aina Ogutala, is officially now in the driver's seat of the society with a vision of rebirthing the NSE for the growth, empowerment and advancement of engineering in Nigeria. This follows the successful oath of office and investiture of the new president of the NSE held in Abuja. Justin Bemoyi has the details.
The umbrella body of Nigerian engineers converged this time with a rather enthralling experience. With the enchantment, you may ask what the fascinating and intriguing factor was. It is the fact that for the past 65 years of the Nigerian Society of Engineers' history of existence, this is the first time a woman is crowned the president of NSE. Margaret Aino Oguntala is now the 34th president of the body. With that charisma, courage and determination, she is now calling the shots from the driver's seat with focused strategic priorities.
We begin a new chapter that is inclusive, innovative, and forward-thinking. Our mission is clear: to rebuild the NSE for the growth, empowerment, and advancement of engineering in Nigeria. Let us bridge divides, empower the youth, harness innovation, and advocate for the transformative power of engineering.
Tasiu Saad Gidari Wudil, the 33rd president of the NSE, who has been at the helm of affairs in the last 24 months, today hands over the mantle with a word of appreciation and support.
And please don't forget that I'm also first. I'll be the first to hand over to a female president.
The Nigerian government also hopes to see a rebirth and rebranding of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. This comes with a clear political will to support the society with its mandate and vision.
The three men have come before her, serving as presidents of this great body. They have worked tirelessly to make the NCA the outstanding professional organization it is today. Let us applaud their efforts. However, the time has come for the Nigerian Society of Engineers to enter the labor room and give birth to a new version of itself.
Margaret Aino Oguntala's crowning achievement came when she assumed the role of the first female president of the NSE on 1st January 2024. And as she guides the society towards new horizons, it is hoped that her legacy of excellence, mentorship and innovation inspires current and future generations in the engineering field. Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
And that's the news. Thanks for your time. I am Olajide Bello.